You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. Rjukan is a town in Norway. Rjukan, and it's spelled R-J-U-K-A-N. I looked up the pronunciation. It's probably not quite right, but it's a town in Norway, and it's very unique. So not only is it way far north, which means that during the winter months, it gets less sun every day, but it also is in this river valley. And so as a result of being in the river valley, it does not get sunlight, direct sunlight, for 6 months out of the year. 6 months out of the year, no sunlight. So they wanted to do something about that. And they talked about it, they toyed with ideas, but in 2013, they finally decided. They put up 3 giant mirrors up on a hillside that could get the sun, and it would point its way down into the center of the city. So there would be a spot where there was sunlight, a sunny place to gather in the dead of winter. Light is important. Humans need light. We need to have light. It's good for our well-being. But we need light in more than one way, right? Of course, we need sunlight. That's really important for our lives, as this town has acknowledged. But our hearts were created for glory. For glory. So the book of Revelation tells us that when this earth passes away and the new heavens and the new earth come, and the city, which is the new Jerusalem, is here on earth and is our dwelling place, it says that our source of light will be God himself, and it equates the light with the glory. This is what it says in Revelation 21:23. And the city has no need of sun or moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives it light, and its lamp is the Lamb. Its lamp is the Lamb. The glory of God gives its light, and Jesus, who is no less glorious, he is the lamp. So that's the future. But the follower of Christ, we know that even now, we cannot live without the glory of God. Just like that town needed sunshine. And I understand that in very northern places, there's great depression that happens in the wintertime because it's dark for so long. They need sunshine. So just like we can't live without the sunshine, it's impossible for us to live without God's glory shining on us. It's the light by which we live as Christians, and Jesus is the lamp. So the astounding thing this morning is that the verses we have here tell us that we are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. It's an astounding statement there. But of course, that's impossible without God himself living in us by his Spirit. It is his light that shines from us because he lives in us. So what I want to do today is to look, I want to see what it looks like for us to be the light of the world, okay? And I want to do it in 3 points, which is very surprising to everyone, that I want to do it in 3 points. So the first point is the task, the second point is the danger, and the third point is the glory. So the task, the danger, and the glory. So here's number 1, the task. And we find it here in verses 14 and 15. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. So the task is really simple, actually. It's to shine the light. It's to shine the light. Jesus says very plainly, you are the light of the world. Not you might become the light of the world, or you're a close approximation to the light of the world. Just like he was, you are the salt, we saw last week. You are the light, okay? Well, how is that so? Well, it's because his light lives in us, as I've already said, through his Spirit, and he is the light of the world, which means that we are too. We are his followers. We are with him. His Spirit lives in us, and he shines his light through us. And then he gives us these two metaphors, okay? Two metaphors about that light. First, a city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Ann and I lived in Reñaca, Chile for 2 years, two years and 3 months or so, back in the 90s. Our daughter Lydia was born there. And there's this giant bay. So if you're looking at, here's Chile, the west coast here, there's this big bay. And at the top of the bay is a town called Concon. And then next down is Reñaca, where we were. And then there's this big city, Viña del Mar. And then there's another big city at the bottom, Valparaíso. So there's more than 1 million people in this bay area. And it's just city. It's solid city all around. But here you are in Reñaca, and there's a place where when you drive at the top of Reñaca, because it's all hills, it's like California, right? It's like San Francisco. It's mountains or hills that go down into the water, into the ocean. And there's a place where you're on top of one of the mountains. There's a road that goes up there. And as you're descending that, you can look straight. You're driving straight across the bay and at night. And what you see is Valparaíso. And you see the lights. And it looks like it's a spaceship because it's sticking out into the water. So the sky is dark, the water is dark, and there you have this thing jutting out. And it's just brilliant with lights. It's just filled with lights. You can't hide that light. It's impossible. You can't do anything to hide that light. That's the idea here. This is what a Christian is. If you are following Christ, you cannot hide it. It's impossible. That's what Jesus is telling us here. If we're hiders of the light, if we're trying to hide it everything, we may wonder whether we're really followers of Christ. We can't hide the light. The second metaphor is that the point of a lamp is to shine the light. You don't put a lamp under a basket. That would be oxymoronic, right? That would be a little bit weird. You light a lamp and then you put a basket over top of it. The whole point of lighting a lamp is because it is dark and you cannot see. And so you light a lamp so that it will illuminate where you are so that you will not bump into something or trip over something when it's dark. So the first one says you are a light, whether you want to be or not. The second one says don't hide it. Don't hide it. So the task at hand, if we're talking about the task, which is the point of this point is to not hide our light. So I've talked so many times about expressive individualism, that term invented by Robert Bella and some of his sociology colleagues, and how our society today is one of expressive individualism. But the term that defines this kind of individualism is the word autonomy, okay? Autonomy. This is the bottom line. I am autonomous. And so it doesn't matter what science says or what society says or what anyone says. If I think it, then that is my truth. This is the essence, of course, of the expressive individualism or autonomous thought that is so prevalent in our culture today, and it has bled into the church as well. And so one of the results of this kind of thinking is that if you have a certain kind of faith, it must be a private faith because it's about you, and you have no right to declare that something is true for everyone. The privatization of faith is what our culture actually wants from us. They don't care if you're a Christian, as long as you keep it to yourself. And the truth is, even in secular universities, most professors are not openly bashing Christianity. Of course, some are, but most of them are not. It's just that they live and they teach from a non-biblical worldview. And so differences become immediately apparent if you're a Christian, right? What will you do with that? Now, I don't think it's a matter of always contradicting what everyone says, but many Christians don't want to be seen as controversial because they fear the repercussions, and so they remain silent. They hide their light. I'm not telling you exactly what that looks like. People would like a list. They would like a list of the do's and don'ts of not hiding your light. I'm not going to give you that. That's between you and God. All I know is what the principle is. Don't hide your light. Don't hide it. It may be approaching somebody with winsomeness and just having a conversation. I don't know. But I know what the principle is. We're called to be the light of the world. It doesn't give us license to be obnoxious or to be argumentative, but everyone can give a testimony of what Jesus has done in their lives. And everyone can just spill Jesus it should spill from us. And we do it in winsome and loving ways. So I honestly think that to be the light of the world means to love people well. Our loved ones, our brothers and sisters here at church, but also the person we disagree with politically, the atheist who wants nothing to do with our religion, the Muslim who's entrenched in their way of thinking, the down and outer, even the abortionist. We love them well. We go to them. We let our light shine, right? We need Jesus to spill from us. That's the task. That's the task. We are the light of the world. Don't hide it. Don't hide it. Number two, the danger. So what's the danger? It may not be what you think. You may think I'm going to say that the danger is that people might reject you, and you got to be careful about all that. And we need to pray for this hedge of protection around us, that we don't get hurt in the process. Of course, that's not a biblical concept either, because the hedge of protection is already around us, and he might have us be martyred for our faith, and that's a hedge of protection because one way or another, we're going to live with him. So that's not really what I'm talking about when I talk about the danger of not hiding our light. There are a lot of Christians that are afraid of this, right? A lot of Christians that are afraid of this. For those that are, Jesus tells you he will be with you even unto the end of the age. But there's a bigger danger for Christians. Verse 16, in the same way, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. It says that we do good works so that people will give glory to the Father. So what's the danger? The danger is an ever-present diverting of the glory from God to ourselves. We're all about glory, but it's so often not for God's glory. It's for our glory. This is the ever-present struggle. Doing things so that we get the glory. We can be involved in the most uplifting good things and still deep down want to be noticed because of our contribution. We want to be recognized for what we did. We do it at church. We do it at home. We do it at work. We struggle. We want glory. We want recognition. We want to be noticed. It's as old as the Garden of Eden. And when your source and significance and security get cut off, when your glory gets cut off, you have to invent your own, and it never seems like enough. I want to show you a video.
You know, when I go to sleep at night, I'm not just a guy going to sleep. I'm two-time Golden Globe winner Jim Carrey going to get some well-needed shut-eye. And when I dream, I don't just dream any old dream. No, sir. I dream about being three-time Golden Globe winning actor Jim Carrey. Because then I would be enough. It would finally be true. And I could stop this terrible search for what I know ultimately won't fulfill me. But these are important, these awards. I don't want you to think that just because if you blew up our solar system alone, you wouldn't be able to find us or any of human history with the naked eye. But from our perspective, this is huge.
If only he could get 3 Golden Globe Awards, then he would be enough. So what's interesting about this phenomenon of always wanting our glory is that the Bible is the only place that I know of that actually makes sense of this phenomenon. It seems when you hear a Jim Carrey talk about it, you're like, oh yeah, he's right about that. It really doesn't matter, does it? See, when Adam and Eve were put in the Garden of Eden, it was with a whole host. They lost a whole host of issues when they fell. The relationship with God was broken. The relationship with themselves, they didn't know who they were. They didn't understand themselves, and they certainly didn't understand each other. And so it was all a mystery for them. But they lost God. They lost the glory. And so people are laughing at Jim Carrey because he's saying that what he's saying is true. They've convinced themselves that they are important because what they do is so visible to the world. They have fame, they have fortune, but his whole point is that it's never enough. Self-glory is never enough. I've always got to look for more. I just need a little bit more. If somebody would just praise me this time, then I would be enough. Can I be enough? So there came this moment for Christians, this moment in each of our lives in which we realized that our self-glorification was getting us nowhere. For every single Christian who has come to Christ, this is the process that has happened. Our self-glorification is getting us nowhere. That all the success or accolades or importance or approval of other people were not enough. No matter how much people built us up, it wasn't enough. We realized we're empty, and it was devastating. It was devastating, but for the Christians, something happened, see? You get this glimpse of Jesus. You see his love for you in spite of your self-glorification tendencies. You see his grace to forgive a sinner like you and like me. And then you come to him and you know he has not only forgiven you, but he's reconciled you to the Father. And this brings a flood of joy because suddenly our lives are filled with his light. And you live in that glow for a while when you come to Christ. But then life happens. You still have to go to your job. You still have to continue with your routine. You still have to raise the kids. You still have to function in a world that wants to be 3-time Golden Globe winner Jim Carrey. A world that says that life is about success. And so the temptation to fall in that trap is there all the time. The lie is that autonomy or self-glorification will be enough, and it'll get you where you want to go. You'll feel good about yourself. Maybe you're a parent. You love your kids. You love your kids. When they misbehave, you fear for them. You really do genuinely want good things for your kids. But when they don't behave well, you either are too permissive and you let lots and lots of things go, or sometimes you just lose your temper and you come on way too strong with them. We often live in one or the other. Of course, you have a deep love for your kids, but at the same time, there's this glory issue at stake. When your kids misbehave in public, it's embarrassing to you. You want people to think you're a good parent. You want kids to behave for them so that everyone will say, what great kids they are. I wonder whose parents are parenting those kids. This is a temptation all the time. Or when you have people over to your house, you spend the day cleaning. So it's fine to clean because you want to love people well, and you don't want people coming into a dirty house. That might not be great for hospitality, but it is such a fine line between loving your guests well and wanting them to think that you are a terrific housekeeper and you keep your house this clean all the time. And we know you don't. Some of you do. Some of you are really OCD. So I'm not going to put that past some of you. But see, it's this glory issue. It's this glory issue. It's taking away the glory that I should be pointing to, giving glory to my Father in heaven, and it is diverting it to myself. This is the temptation we face all the time. How do we change this? Well, number 3 is the goal of glory. What Jesus is teaching here is that shining our light involves good works, but they are only good works if they bring glory to the Father. You can do good things, but with wrong motives, as we've already seen. But the good works that we are called to do have as a goal God's kingdom and God's glory. So no matter whatever you do, whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all to the glory of God, is what Paul tells us. All to the glory of God. So what does that look like? Let me tell you from personal experience, something that happened recently. This past Wednesday, we had our jazz concert. Thank you so many of you that came out. It was fun. But if truth be told, I was terrified. You can ask my wife, and my mother was here this week, so you can ask her too. They don't lie. Okay. So I used to play, as most of you know, I used to play professionally in many, many venues. I would do a classical recital every year. I freelance with the Louisiana Philharmonic Orchestra, with the Baton Rouge Symphony. The Sanger Theater Orchestra, which is where the Broadway plays came through. I played with them. I played in bands of all kinds, brass quintet work, and many, many weddings where I played classical trumpet and did all that stuff. And then I was teaching at Southeastern Louisiana University, and also I had a church job as a music director. My wife was tired of my being gone, but that's another story that we'll talk about when we get into husbands and wives. All right. So I was busy, okay? And it is really hard when you're in a setting like that and you're in demand, you're getting called all the time. You don't want to turn anything down. And it's really hard in a setting like that not to make your instrument your identity. But then God called me to seminary. And it was a pretty strong call. But I went through withdrawal on the trumpet for at least 2 years or 3 years. Every Saturday night I would think, boy, I wish I were gigging right now. I wish I were gigging right now. And it was hard. I mourned the passing of that life for a long time. And even though I was excited about the journey we were on, I was still mourning the past. So from then on, my playing was very spotty. I played a little at seminary. I played a little bit in Chile. I was part of this Cuban salsa band, but they were out. We were playing gigs till 3 a.m, And it kind of wasn't compatible with my job as a pastor because I had to be at the office in the morning, you know. I had to quit that. I just couldn't do it. So for the most part, I took 20 years off. And it wasn't until about 2 years ago that I got my horn out and started playing some. And I don't have time to play a lot, but I started playing a little bit every day. I got asked to play in this small band, and that's why I did it. And I played 3 gigs with them. And truth be told, 20 years is a long time to take off. It didn't go that well, in my opinion. I had all kinds of endurance problems. My sight reading was awful. My technical ability is very, very, very so. But I've been practicing. And then comes Wednesday night, and I'm really insecure. I want to impress the other musicians. I love y'all, but didn't care about the crowd. I want to impress the other guys in the band because they're all great players. Really want to impress the band. I can taste it, and I'm terrified that I won't. See, what's wrong with this picture? An insecure person has a glory problem. They're focused on their own glory and not on God's glory. What was my glory problem? It was to impress other musicians. For what purpose? Just like Jim Carrey. Because if I impress them, then I'll be enough. I'll be enough. Finally, I'll be enough. It's an ultimate self-focus that breeds insecurity because it's never enough. So I began to pray and repent and confessing all of it to God and telling him of my struggle. I began to ask him to allow me to get my eyes off myself and onto what he might want to do for his kingdom that night, not only in the band, but in the audience. And I'd love to tell you that my motives were really pure that night. They weren't. But I did have more joy and less concern. Why? Because that's what happens when you're thinking about his glory and not your own. John Piper says this: all of life is the outshining of what you truly value and cherish and treasure. Therefore, all of life is worship, either of God or something else. It's either God or we're worshiping at some other altar with some other idol. What is it that you truly value and cherish? What are the things that you hide so that you can shine better? What Jesus is offering is something totally different. Let me quote John Piper again from his book, Desiring God. God is most glorified in us when we are most satisfied in him. And then he changes the first catechism of the Westminster Shorter Catechism, a likely story for a Baptist. Shouldn't be changed in the Presbyterian Confession, but I actually like this change. This is what he says: man's chief end is to glorify God by enjoying him forever. I love John Piper, by the way. By enjoying him forever, to enjoy God, to glorify God, to enjoy him. Where is there time for my glory? That gets squeezed out. When I'm thinking about enjoying God, how do we do this? Well, there's only one way. It's Jesus. And here's the thing we need to see about Jesus. He was willing to set aside his glory. Can you imagine this? The God of very gods, the King of kings, the Lord of lords, who is glory personified, is willing to set his glory aside so that we might know the Father and might again realize the joy for which we were created, so that we can enjoy him. Philippians 2, 5-8 says, have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who though he was in form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself. This is let his glory aside. By taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, he humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. The one who deserves all glory is the one who sets it aside. That's astounding. And why does he do it? He does it for glory seekers like us. He does it for people who want to be somebody on their own, who want to be significant and receive all of the praise of the people around them. He does it for people who are completely blind to themselves and what would actually bring them joy. He comes as the light, John 1, the true light, which gives light to everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made through him, yet the world did not know him. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. While we were blind as a bat, he made us alive in Christ. He opened our eyes. And then Jesus came and he let them take him and murder him for your sake and mine. He gave up everything and he paid the price for our self-glorification. Let me tell you what happens when people get a hold of this. Everything changes. Everything. In 1994, I read this story. In 1994, during the Rwandan genocide, a Tutsi woman named Immaculée Ilibagiza hid in a tidy bathroom with 7 other women for 91 days, protected by a Hutu pastor. Tutsi women protected by a Hutu pastor who were massacring people. The Hutus were massacring people. During that time, surrounded by horror, she clung to her faith, praying constantly and asking God to help her forgive those killing her family and people. After the genocide ended, Immaculée emerged from hiding, having lost most of her loved ones. Yet she chose not to seek revenge. Instead, she began speaking publicly about forgiveness and reconciliation. One day, she met the man who had murdered her mother and brother. He asked her for forgiveness. With the world watching, she said, I forgive you. Her story has since brought hope to thousands struggling with hatred and grief. Her life, scarred but surrendered, became a beacon of the very light Jesus spoke of, shining in the darkness so that others might see and glorify God. Christians show their work in thousands of ways. They forgive. They give of themselves sacrificially. They look for people to help. They have kingdom priorities. And that priority is the glory of God. They long for people to know this God who is the only source of joy and life and peace. See, to love God is to love people, all kinds of people. While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. While we are Christians with light, we go to those who don't see him. No matter where they are, no matter what they're doing, no matter how bad it gets, they're still made in the image of God. And we're called to be the light. To love God is to love people, and part of loving people is to let Jesus spill from us. Spill. We're so overwhelmed with what he's done for us. This is what being the light of the world is. And that's the gospel, and it changes everything. Let's pray.